I'll just do a short introduction for our next speaker, who is Charles Milroy. I should say that Charles wrote this himself. Yes. A chartered civil engineer and environmental manager, Charles worked in the Scottish water industry for 30 years. On secondments abroad with Scottish Water and the Armed Forces, Charles has seen firsthand how other countries treat their water and dispose of their waste, especially in Vietnam, Iraq and Afghanistan. A passionate advocate for cleaner environments, Charles, through Rotary, was the driving force behind a partnership project of making more of the coast with the Solway Firth Partnership. Charles.
I think you could say I'm a plastics enthusiast. I want to remove as much plastic from the environment as possible. That's my mandate. That's what makes me tick. It's in my DNA. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a project that we've done in partnership with other organisations, and we'll spell that out later, but as part of Rotary. We had a project called Making More of the Coast, and I love this picture here of the puffin with baling twine, as well as other things and bits and pieces to nest with. So my first introduction to Rascarroll Bay was in 1974, when I was doing the marine biology part of my A-level, and A-level biology. And I saw a bay which I really loved. However, I went back 40 years later and was shocked by what was on the beach. And it wasn't just Rascarroll Bay, it was Barlocco Bay, it was nearly every bay which had a southwest-facing aspect. And I was determined to do something about it. Now, as my wife knows, when I actually do resolve to do something, I actually do it. If I haven't resolved to do something, I don't. But this was definitely one for me. So first steps was consultation. Consultation with who? Well, consultation with the eco-warriors who are here this evening. Laura, you here? No, they've gone. They were here earlier, hoovered up the food. They have to be fair, they're going on holiday tomorrow. People's Project, you're here. Where are you? Hands up. Lovely to see you. Solway Firth Partnership. I know you're here because Nick's just spoken. We've got Claire and Morag here. And the council. So we consulted with them. We talked about it, saw what the problem was. And then we did a gap analysis. And the gap analysis was, what is the situation? Where do we want it to be? What is the gap in between? And we initiated beach cleans. So the gap analysis brought out the following things: the extent of the problem, organisations and the groups involved across Dumfries and Galloway, and there are a large number of groups along Dumfries and Galloway, national bodies and initiatives, and quite a lot of that information came from Nick and Claire. Relationships with landowners. Some landowners are better than others. Some are quite obstructive. Some just can't wait for you to clean their beach. We looked at networking, both current and potential. And we found that some groups were going out and doing beach cleans, and they weren't actually insured, and they had nobody who were doing first aid. So if anybody's doing a beach clean with Rotary, they do come under the umbrella of Rotary insurance, so long as Rotary do the risk assessment and there's somebody there with them. So there's issues out there that we need to sort of draw in together, insurance being the main one. So off to it, going and do beach cleans. I do like this one here of leave nothing but your footprint on the beach. And we went out and did beach cleans, and the first one that we did was at, that's not a very good slide, I do apologise, was at Southern S. Rotarians went out, and it was during COVID, hence the separation in the top left hand. And with cooperation with the golf club, they actually left a trailer at the 12th green, and we started filling trailer loads of stuff in a location probably about 200, 300 metres long, and no more than that. Nick's talked about the source of some of the stuff. I'm afraid that some of the charity fundraising events, like the duck race on the River Niff, I'm not going to name names, Lions Club. Anybody from the Lions Club here tonight? Oh, I got away with that one, dodged that bullet. Nick's talked about the fishing industry. But it's more complex than that. What we find is things like plastic wadding from wildfowling from the cartridges. Toothbrushes are always there. My pet hate, and if anybody's here from the council know that James McLeod is, please ban the sale of helium balloons in Dumfries and Galloway, because we keep on finding them. And it's not just the balloons, it's the ribbon as well. So, again, oh gosh, that's awful. Bolocco Bay, this is me pinching off the internet. Bolocco Bay was a particularly bad bay that we came across. And you can see dotted around the place the amount of litter that there is there. And it's absolutely shocking. The problem with Bolocco Bay, if you actually pick something, you've got to man-port it about 1.5 miles out, because the landowner will not let us have access most time during the year and restricts us if we do want to use it. So we had to think about this, and I'm going to use a slide which I use in my civilian job of looking at management versus leadership. Colin Voot, where are you, Colin? Colin's seen this a number of times. And it's about thinking about problems. And we have what I call tame problems. They've occurred before, they have a definable stopping point, and you need an established technique to make things work. Okay, that's tame. And I'll give you some examples of that. Writing a railway timetable, it's just obvious, it just happens. There's a process that you go through to write it, algorithms and things. Doctors here, I know there's at least 2, possibly, there's 3 doctors in here at least. Planned heart surgery is a process. When somebody starts to check out the crash cart, there's a process and protocols to follow. Organising a beach clean, do the risk assessment, get the volunteers there, put it up on the website. It's all process driven. Then you have things which are wicked problems, where actually you can make things worse. And I talked to Malcolm Johnson of Express Bakery about reducing the thickness of the packaging that they use on their rolls. And he said, yeah, I'd love to do that. But you must understand the knock-on from that is you reduce shelf life. The knock-on from that is you have more wastage. The knock-on from that is more wastage is higher price. So it's not as simple as you think. And when we hear people saying, surely all you have to do is step back and rethink it, because if it's that simple, it will have been done. Okay, so I'm just trying to get you into this mindset of thinking about how we solve the plastic problem. And if we look at examples, railway timetables, the wicked part of that is integrated transport policy. Look at HS2, look at third runway at Heathrow. Reducing chronic heart disease in the community is all about poverty, diet, climate, all those things which are really beyond our control. So beach cleaning, the example of the wicked part of it, is eradicating marine plastic. It's not as simple as we make it. One part is about finding the right process, which is the domain of management, and the other is about finding the right questions to ask. And we need to ask ourselves questions this evening, and that's the domain of leadership. And what Rotary tries to do is to manage and lead at the same time. And there's this continuum of tame and wicked problems, and are we managing or are we leading? So that's what we try and do in our community, is to manage and lead and facilitate. So I'll give you an example of applying a process. It's the runaway stage. We've all seen it in the Westerns. You know, the driver's been shot, somebody climbs out the cab, gets on the top, and what does he do? Yeah? Jumps from there, A to B to C to D to F. Happy with that. But we must understand there are some people in our community who think differently, and they'll come up with other things, and we must embrace their solutions, not adopt them, but just respect them for what they are. Okay? So, Bolocco Bay is that particular problem. So Bolocco Bay had huge amounts of plastics on it, and it was very, very much remote from the nearest highway and the nearest point to extract the plastic. So we had to think outside the box. We had to leave process to one side and ask the right questions. How do we get it off the beach? Can we get something in from the sea? We got the charts. We looked at the rocky shore and how it shelved. No, we couldn't get something in by sea. Would the landowner let us put an access road in? Yes, if we paid for it. And it was going to be £20,000. So we went to one of our chums, who unfortunately is not here, and said, Jock, can we have a helicopter? And he went, yeah, why not? We've got one coming up from Blackpool. You can have it for an hour. And I'm just going to play you a short video.
Flying out on a mission to help keep the Solway coast clean. Our beautiful beaches are blighted with plastic contamination dumped from the sea, and volunteers have endlessly struggled to keep them clean. With some beaches difficult to reach by car, environmental groups have had to look to other ways of removing piles of rubbish.
When we came down to here at Bolocco Bay, we realised that there's a huge problem and we couldn't man-port the materials out. The helicopter is going to lift the 29 one-tonne bags of plastic waste off the beach. And they're going to take them approximately 2 kilometres away to a lay-by, and they're going to be put into skips and then recycled from there.
Washed up waste can come from anywhere, and keeping it out of the sea has been a real team effort, with volunteers and various local organisations doing their part.
Partners are everything in this sort of work, so we've been working very, very closely with Solway Firth Partnership, Dumfries and Galloway Eco Warriors, who are tremendous, and the council have been absolute stars. Community assets, roads and infrastructure have really helped us out when we've needed it. The can-do attitude is very refreshing from all parties. It's been fantastic.
Making an impact requires everyone to join together. This environmental hit squad want to achieve more, beyond keeping the beaches clean.
We have to, not penalise people but educate them, especially the next generation. Parents should be aware that teaching their kids at an early age can go on to sort of empower them to be the next generation and to take over from people like our group and start their own, because it is naivety and it is a throwaway society, and we have to be mindful that it's if they start somewhere, then it's not somebody else who's going to pick it up. They need to be responsible for picking up and encourage other people to do the same, and so on.
Not everyone lives near the coastline, but everyone can do their bit.
It doesn't have to be a beach clean, it can be a river clean, it can be a park clean, anywhere at all. And if we all play a little part, together we can make a difference.
The group hopes that by raising awareness of plastic usage, it will lead to a change in behaviours, generating less waste. Until then, they'll do anything they can to keep our coasts clean. Alex Izat, ITV News.
Okay, so that was a nice bit of publicity. It wasn't about the helicopter, it was about stimulating people's imagination, that we can do things differently. Now, some people say, the first question they ask is, oh, how did you offset the carbon of the helicopter? It's a great question. I might answer it later if anybody asks it. No, we actually do. We have a plan for that. But we work in partnership with various people. And there's several partnerships I'm very proud of. And one is with the college. During COVID, we actually wanted to work with the media studies part of the college. And because it was in COVID, we actually had to give them a video brief, which we did down on the shore. And there's Nick there doing a piece to camera. Penny Humphreys is on the back left, as I looked, has been instrumental in that. The video which you saw at the very start was by one of the students here, and you'll see another one later. The quality of the work which they have produced is breathtaking. So the brief in 2021 was look at the scale and effects of marine plastic in the marine environment. You can read, tell a story behind 3 types of plastic, promote and applaud what is being done. And we asked them for their viewpoint of what should be done about marine plastic. It's very easy for us to get caught up in our own view, but we need to seek other people's view. The caveats, and Dave will reinforce this later, it's not about blaming people from the past. It's about looking forward, establishing our baseline and moving on. That really is where we want to be. So well done, C.S. Lewis, for coming up with that several decades ago. And the other thing with the students, the other caveat was, and I used to say this to my kids, the only limitation you should have on the delivery of this project should be your imagination. They went away and they did breathtaking stuff. The project got put forward for a Green Gown Award, and it won the National Green Gown Award, which is mainly won by universities, and it was a huge feather in the cap of the college here. It's, for me, when I'm working on a project, you try and get as many people to win, win, win as possible, and bringing in partners enables that. The brief the following year was a plastic adventure, was to tell a story of a piece of plastic. And again, the students rose to this particular brief, as always. And the second film, I think, came from that particular year. We put together a Making More of the Coast project, which was funded by Rotary and Foundation, working with Solway Firth Partnership. And the deliverables of that were provision of branded equipment for schools and youth organisations, and that was achieved. The Solway Sea Chest. Now I'd like you to go at the break outside through to room number 1, and to the right you'll see the Sea Chest. I'm very, very proud of what Solway Firth Partnership delivered here. The Sea Chest has got all sorts of things in it. Go and rummage in the Sea Chest. But it has examples of what you'll find on the shore, both plastics, flora, fauna. There are educational resources in there, etc. We've also produced for the schools, linked with the Curriculum for Excellence, we've produced lesson plans. So that people can take this marine plastic idea and run it through the schools. And several primary schools have taken up on that. And one school, it was Douglas Ewer, decided that they were going to utilise this project. And one day they had 105 young people from Newton Stewart and area on Monreef Beach. I have never seen so much chaos, but what fun they had. So we have all this learning, we have this learning package which is available. It's lesson plans, there are tutorials, all the teaching materials, etc., etc. And we have those available. And we'd like other people to learn outside of Dumfries and Galloway and pull that together. We had a college competition which produced short videos, and we also, as deliverables, looked at a dedicated beach cleaning activity webpage, which is there, and it's sort of up and running. But what I'd like to discuss in the plenary session at the end is how we can do things better. So who are the beneficiaries of this project? Well, I'd say Dumfries and Galloway College are. Dumfries and Galloway Council in Community Assets and Education. Eco-warriors gain from it. Landowners gain from it, the general public, and we as Rotary get a profile of being leaders and facilitators in the community. And that's typical of what we do. You've heard me long enough. Any questions? Hamish.
Charles, at the end of your beneficiary there is the planet.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. The environment, the planet, whatever. I can't stress enough how important it is that we have all these people doing great things, but we need to join them up to a common purpose. So I've been onto a beach, and I thought, where's all the rubbish? Because last week when I came down here, it was filthy. And I found out that the community had been out the day before and cleaned it. So that's one of the things I'd like to talk about later, is how we can work smarter as a Dumfries and Galloway community to best effect. Any other questions? Yes, at the back. That's all,
There
yeah.
are lots of alternatives, but they're not being used. You know, a local health shop in Castle Douglas uses cellulose bags and has for years, which are compostable in home compost bins. How many other shops do that?
Yep.
You can make plastic from potato skins. Why don't potato crisp manufacturers make their bags from the potato skins?
Yeah.
You know, they can do it. It is possible,
Yeah.
but they're not doing it.
Yeah. And it's moving from that tame to wicked, is that people need to think differently. And that's what I'm trying to get, the point I'm trying to get over here. And there's all sorts of different ways. So they said rapeseed oil was a lot healthier to cook with. So everybody changed over to rapeseed, and then they just destroyed environments everywhere. So we must think, whatever we do, what the consequences are. But I absolutely take your point.
I mean, individually, everybody can do something. You don't have to buy
Yeah.
your toilet roll in a plastic package.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
they can come delivered from Naked Sprout.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. But I agree, we all have the individual choice to do what we want. If we choose to, at the moment, if we choose to go and buy a bottle of plastic water and not reuse it, when I get rolls in a plastic bag, I use that because I've got a black Labrador. So I give that plastic bag a second use. Sorry, I didn't think I was going to talk about that this evening. James, last one. No, I'll take one more after that. James.
Yeah, it's not so much a question, but more an observation about what's called extended producer responsibility, which sounds particularly dull, but has quite far-reaching consequences. So it's picking up and moving towards a situation where those who put product onto the market need to pay for the treatment, disposal, the end of life of those products. So this already happens with waste electricals. So anything you take to a recycling centre gets collected from the recycling centre by the companies free of charge.
Yeah.
We don't pay, so I work for the council, we don't pay for the uplift of that material. Moving forward, the intention is that the government will bring into place what's called extended producer responsibility. So something like a plastic bottle that has a wrap that's made from a different material than the bottle makes that harder to recycle.
Yep.
If you put a wrap around that bottle that's the same material as the bottle, that's easier to recycle with less cost for them
Yep.
in added to the price of that bottle.
Yep.
And that cost is obviously passed on to the consumer. So if you take an example of the tubs of chewing gum, the sort of 60-piece tubs of chewing gum, the bottom of the tub is made from HDPE, the top of the tub is made from LDPE. It's not even the same freaking material in the tub. One
Yep.
is recyclable and one is very difficult to
Yep.
recycle. And it's in the same product.
Yeah.
It's content. And that's what we need to be moving towards. And the way of that is top-down, that is government intervention in that. So there is opportunities to improve this. And obviously there's many other things that folks in the government's mind at the moment.
Yes.
An election being one, I imagine. But I guess we'll get to the point where these kind of things happen. Instead of producer responsibility will improve the sort of recyclability of the materials that go into the market.
Yeah, and it comes back to personal responsibility. When you drive along the A75 and you see the detritus on the side of the road, I wanted to put a slide up. My son, who's into graphic design, made a slide for me. And there's a car, and there's an arm, and it's throwing a plastic bottle. And the caption was, "Don't be a tosser." But I wasn't allowed to put it up. And I'm sorry, you know, even in road... No, it was actually... I didn't think it was appropriate. But we need to be hard-hitting in our message. You know, I'm just getting, you know, people who buy stuff, and you see it in the bypass, there is an area, a zone of litter, because that's the time they've finished their fast food, and they throw it out. So it's about attitude, which is all that part of that wicked problem. Anyway, we have a short break now.